Good evening, and thanks for tuning in to WTAXWH6. I'm Frank Hand Up Me. In local top stories, a literal war zone has broken out in a small Kissimmee studio. The What's the Attraction studio has seen aliens falling out windows, boogeymen breaking and entering, even a rogue asteroid at one point. But now, we're talking gunfire, mortars, tanks, and even threats of a ride called Stitch's Great Escape. We now go to our roving reporter, Reese the Jit. How are things on the front, Reese?
Oh, no, he didn't! Oh, that's gotta hurt! Frank, good to hear from you.
I understand it's quite the sight of such horror and disregard for human life for you, Reese, but...
Wait. Hold on. Here comes my favorite part. 3, 2, 1. Oh! Oh, that never gets old! You were saying, Frank?
The horror, Reese?
Oh, yeah, terrible, a travesty.
Do you know how this all started?
As a matter of fact, I do, Frank. I have the recording right here. I believe this will answer all your questions.
Hello, I'm TAP-G.
And I'm SurferClock.
And welcome to What's the Attraction?
Where our work is your vacation.
Audio animatronics remain one of Walt Disney's crowning achievements and revolutionized the theme park industry. Today, we wouldn't even envision cheesy robot cartoon characters as a facet of theme parks if Walt Disney and his Imagineers hadn't put together the fully functional animatronic of Abraham Lincoln for the 1964-1965 World's Fair.
Though as much as Walt wanted his men to jump in and create a flawless, lifelike human, it proved a hefty challenge. They had to start somewhere, and where better to start than with the simple anatomy of a bird? This is Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room.
In the tiki room, in the tiki.
Walt's original plans called for a Chinese restaurant with an animatronic of the legendary Eastern philosopher Confucius reading people's fortunes. When the idea of a human animatronic seemed just a bit too ahead of the times, Walt scaled it back to having a concert of birds in a jungle-themed restaurant, predating the Rainforest Cafe by over 30 years.
But Walt rationalized that guests wouldn't thoroughly enjoy an hour-long concert while they dined, especially if it was a chorus of animatronic birds. He scaled the idea back even further, and soon the restaurant portion was dropped entirely. What was left was a show featuring singing birds, featuring the classic Sherman Brothers song in the Tiki Room, among other songs.
The show opened in 1963 and audiences loved it. It was something far different than what the public had come to expect from theme park attractions, especially Disney. To draw crowds, one of the show's hosts, Jose, would be a barker on a perch outside the Tiki Room entrance. Jose was voiced by Disney legend Wally Bogue, better known as Pecos Bill from Disneyland's Golden Horseshoe Revue stage show. But due to congestion from gawking guests, he was soon removed.
Of course, Jose isn't alone in the show. He's joined by the Irish Michael, the French Pierre, and the German Fritz. All four parrots, along with several other brilliantly plumaged birds, the flowers, and a few tiki gods, all have a party celebrating in their tropical paradise. This show would be replicated in Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom under the name Tropical Serenade. This would, in turn, promote Florida's Citrus Commission, who sold their fruit to the next-door Sunshine Tree Terrace. This refreshment stop was also sponsored by a bird, the Orange Bird, who had his theme also written by the Sherman Brothers called, appropriately enough, the Orange Bird Song.
In 1997, the show was beginning to show its age, and Disney Imagineers suggested it was time for an upgrade. In 1998, Walt Disney World gave the public the Enchanted Tiki Room, under new management. A couple of celebrities moved in to take the Sunshine Pavilion to the next level. Iago, the brash, gravel-throated parrot from Aladdin, and Zazu, the proper yet flighty hornbill from The Lion King. Iago, being Iago, upset the tiki gods something fierce, and the birds proved they had staying power to a newer, cooler generation.
You're forgetting something.
No, I'm not. The show was popular and they all lived happily ever after at the end.
Fine. If you won't, then I will. After over 10 years, the public was getting frustrated with the show. The new version spent all its energy mocking a classic Disney-made attraction and failed to provide a good show in the mix. Guests complained, but nothing was done. Then, in January of 2011, the Tiki Gods had enough of Iago's obnoxious griping, and a small fire broke out inside the pavilion. Thankfully, no one was hurt.
You don't mess with the Tiki Gods, people. They will mess you up.
Here, the Imagineers were ready to rebuild the damage when they began asking themselves if this was the right thing to do. This was a maligned attraction that few people liked, and now they had an opportunity to rectify that. That following August brought the Enchanted Tiki Room. No Zazu, no Iago, no Phil Hartman and Don Rickles' Birds in the Queue. Just virtually the identical attraction to the earlier Tropical Serenade attraction. However, they did install more energy-efficient lighting and cleaner sound systems.
Instead of bickering toucan showbiz agents voiced by Don Rickles and the late Phil Hartman, we got Claude and Clyde, who try to upsell the show. Claude is voiced by Sebastian Cabot, better known as Mr. French in A Family Affair and several Disney cartoons, and Clyde is voiced by Dallas McKennon, who voices Benjamin Franklin in Epcot's American Adventure and the safety spiel at Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. You know, the wildest ride in the wilderness guy.
Once inside the theater, Jose gets the birds awake for the show. Michael, voiced by Fulton Burley, Pierre, voiced by Ernie Newton, and Fritz, voiced by Thurl Ravenscroft. Ravenscroft is also heard on The Country Bears, Liberty Bell Riverboat, Pirates of the Caribbean, and The Haunted Mansion. After a rousing rendition of the popular In the Tiki 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 Room, the birds transition to Let's All Sing Like the Birdies Sing, the Hawaiian War Chant, and finally, their rendition of Hi Ho from Snow White. Fun fact, during the under new management days, Pierre was voiced by Jerry Orbach, better known as the father from Dirty Dancing, Detective Lenny Briscoe from Law & Order, and Lumiere the Candelabra from Beauty and the Beast.
And I think we can all agree that that show was the best version yet. What? Oh, come on!
What are you squawking about?
Now hold on, folks. Let's talk about this rationally.
Okay. First of all, let's talk about the Under New Management show.
Sure.
That was the first show I saw when I came to Walt Disney World for my first time in 1999, and I loved it. I didn't love or hate Zazu, and I didn't love or hate Iago, but it was a fun show with fun characters. It had active music, a great story, and I loved every minute of it right through walking out. What about you?
I do have to give Under New Management a lot of credit. It did really actively try to update and change the Tiki Room to something a little more relevant to possibly more of an audience.
Exactly.
What they do wrong, however, is a little bit of alienation of their old audience. They talk about how old the show is, and they, of course, as you know, they interrupt the legendary In the Tiki 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 Room.
Yeah, that song is everywhere. You can find it on any Disney soundtrack, and I was excited to hear the whole thing, and they cut it off right in the middle. Not even in the middle, just like after the first stanza.
Yeah, and what is it cut off by? Iago going, stop it!
Yeah, but, to be fair, though, what happens to Iago is justified. He's being obnoxious, everyone says he's obnoxious, and he gets his comeuppance in the end.
Definitely.
It was active and lively, had a good story, and I was kind of annoyed that they have Michael Go as Zazu instead of Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, and yes, I'm talking about the late Michael Go. The pre-show with Don Rickles and Phil Hartman, that was entertaining.
I did like that.
Even if the bird jokes were a bit overdone, I liked your client is Big Bird, not Big Bird, I'm Big Bird.
Yeah, I mean, I did like that pre-show a little bit better than the one of the current one, but there's something that's really bothered me all this time, not just about Iago, but I don't know why they replicated this in Under New Management, but dude, bird teeth. What's with the bird teeth?
Really?
Birds don't need teeth. They don't need them. Birds don't have teeth. Why more animated shows do this? That really bothers me. Why did they have to bring that back?
Dude. Chunky tuna tostada.
Chunky tuna tostada? What a stupid phrase.
I personally give Under New Management a 3.5 out of 5, and I know I'm going to get a ton of hate mail for this. A 3.5 because it was a good show, and I do miss it, but that's not the only reason. Watching them side by side, I do miss Under New Management. What about you?
It's a show I neither really thoroughly enjoy it, but at the same time, I really don't hate on it as much as I've seen people hate on the show.
Oh yeah.
People are really incensed about the show. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 2.5 out of 5, right down the middle of the road. But to understand why people are so incensed, were so incensed about Under New Management, let's take a look at the current show, which was the old Tropical Serenade.
Allow me to sum it up this way.
Well,
it is boring. When I finally saw the first time, I'm like, okay, people have been idolizing this for so long, so I sat down, I'm like, okay, the birds sing, and the birds sing, and the birds sing, and the show's over. which
Yeah.
so disappointed me compared to the other one, which, like we said, had a story. Was it a great story? No, but it was decent. It kept you invested. Here it was one song to the next song to the next song, and I think it goes back to an argument of story versus premise.
Yeah, it was a musical review, and what you're getting, you're in an enchanted room. There's tikis, there's birds. Maybe it delivers a little more than it's supposed to, but at the same time, you have to look at it from a generational standpoint.
Yeah,
this was an amazing thing back when our parents and even our grandparents.
Right, because Hawaii was picked up as a state in 1959, and this came out only 4 years later. So everyone was still excited over the idea of Polynesia.
But just think about your nostalgia for Under New Management. How that excited you, how it was the first thing you ever saw. Think about what the current one meant to our parents and our grandparents back in the day. They felt it was really exciting. They had that same feeling going into the current show as you did going into Under New Management. This was an exciting new thing for you.
I guess that's fair, but the thing is, while nostalgia is always something that's absolutely marketable, I mean, just look at how Hot Topic's doing these days.
Oh, yeah.
But, when you start to preserve what you loved and view it as perfect, you eventually come to realize that it wasn't as perfect as you thought it was. I mean, I think the main reason people were upset was because this was something personally done by Walt himself. And everybody loves Walt Disney. We love him. But if we preserved everything he physically touched, you're not running a theme park that grows and evolves. You're running a museum, and you can't keep things the way they were. Is it a nice piece of history? Yes, but it's something that does need to be evolved over time. Honestly, as a whole, the mechanics, I don't know what's going on, but they are defunct. Like, most everything doesn't sync up. The sound quality sounds like it comes out of the 1940s. A lot of the jokes, especially this one about Bing Crosby that just falls flat.
Yeah.
But I do have to agree, there is kind of this gentle charm to it as you just sit in and take a break from the heat. And I do like hearing the full Tiki Room song. As a whole, I give it a 2 out of 5.
For me, now, and this may be very controversial, but I'm going to go ahead and give the Enchanted Tiki Room, the current version, a 2.5 out of 5.
Really?
Right down the middle of the road.
Again?
Yes. I'm charmed by it. I do feel like it has a lot of rustic charm, and nostalgia is definitely something that resonates with just about everyone. But as a whole, because it doesn't really have a great story, I mean, it really just kind of flows from song to song to song.
Hence the premise, not the story like the old one.
Sure. And it's something I enjoy the being able to just to sit down and enjoy something that's nice and calm. And I'm sure now our grandparents and our parents appreciate this more than ever. Just being able to come to a theme park, see, a musical review, and that's the sort of thing that used to make them happy. Perhaps it still makes them happy now. But as for me, it's neither enjoyable nor not enjoyable. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a 2.5 out of 5. Let's go ahead and sum up our ratings real quick.
All right.
Under New Management, you gave it a 3.5 out of 5,
Yep.
and I gave it a 2.5 out of 5.
And as for the current one, I gave it 2 out of 5, and SurferClock gave it a 2.5 out of 5 again.
Sure.
The Sunshine Pavilion is accessible to scooters and wheelchairs. Assistive listening devices, handheld captioning, and audio descriptions are all available.
I think the kind of people who would like this best would be...
The people who want to be bored to sleep!
No, I was going to say mature audiences who don't mind a breather between the thrill rides. It's cool, it's about 10 minutes long, though kids may not be as easily captivated as their parents.
Translation, they'll be bored too.
Hey, I don't think you're being fair to this classic attraction.
Well, excuse me, if I want my attractions to have, I don't know, a story or something remotely exciting,
It's not meant to be exciting, it's meant to be relaxing and charming.
which would be fine if the show had something interesting to offer.
Oh, that's it.
You gotta stop it. Go.
Answer your questions, I hope, Frank?
Yes it does. Thank you, Reese.
No problem. Hey, you guys gonna bring back that cute brunette who does the stock exchange reports?
She's on maternity leave, Reese.
Oh, awkward. Oh, just missed him! Come on, SurferClock, you can do better than that!
Thank you, Reese. Thank you for listening in, my friends. That's all we have tonight on WTAXW at 6. I'm Frank Handupme. Good night.
What about the cute redhead who does the weather?
Goodbye, Reese.